This is the day which the Lord hath made. We will rejoice and be glad in it. Psalm 118:24. Today's lesson title, Saul Tries to Kill David. Lesson text, 1 Samuel chapter 19, verses 8 through 17. The lesson aim is to show that Saul's affection for David had turned to hatred. The time was around 1021 BC, the place Gibeah. 1 Samuel chapter 19 verses 8 through 17. And there was war again, and David went out and fought with the Philistines and slew them with a great slaughter, and they fled from him. And the evil spirit from the Lord was upon Saul, as he sat in his house with his javelin in his hand, and David played with his hand. And Saul sought to smite David, even to the wall with the javelin, but he slipped away out of Saul's presence, and he smote the javelin into the wall. And David fled and escaped that night. Saul sent messengers unto David's house to watch him and to slay him in the morning. And Michal, David's wife, told him, saying, If thou save not thy life tonight, tomorrow thou shalt be slain. So Michal let David down through a window and went and fled and escaped. And Michal took an image and laid it in the bed and put a pillow of goat's hair for his bolster and covered it with a cloth. And when Saul sent messengers to take David, she said, He is sick. And Saul sent the messengers again to see David, saying, Bring him up to me in the bed, that I may slay him. And when the messengers were come in, behold, there was an image in the bed with a pillow of goat's hair for his bolster. And Saul said unto Michal, Why hast thou deceived me so, and sent away mine enemy, that he is escaped? And Michal answered Saul, He said unto me, Let me go. Why should I kill thee? Here are some vocabulary terms that we'll use throughout the lesson. Comforted, ease the grief or distress of, to console. Disobedience, failure or refusal to obey rules or someone in authority. Escaping, break free from confinement or control. Genuine, truly what something is said to be, or something authentic. Harp, a musical instrument, roughly triangular in shape, consisting of a frame supporting a graduated series of parallel strings, played by plucking with fingers. Intentions, a thing intended, an aim or plan. Purported, appearing or stated to be true, though not necessarily so. Alleged. Ruse, an action intended to deceive someone, or a trick. Snare, a trap for catching birds or animals, typically one having a noose of wire. Elude, evade or escape from a danger, enemy, or pursuer, typically in a skillful or cunning way. The lesson discussion, Saul's rage, and David's escape. After the Israelite army defeated the Philistines, Saul made David his special helper, and David succeeded in everything he did. So King Saul made him a commander in the army, and the soldiers were excited, for they liked David a great deal. The Israelite soldiers went home after David killed Goliath, but as they went through each town, they danced and sang songs of joy. They sung, Saul has killed thousands, but David has killed tens of thousands. As Saul became jealous, and jealousy brought back a troubling spirit to Saul. David played the harp, which normally comforted Saul. However, Saul threw a spear as David played and tried to pin David to the wall, but he jumped aside, eluding the spear. Saul did it again, and the problem was Saul's disobedience that caused God to leave him. He knew God was with David, so he grew angrier. and his genuine affection for David turned to hatred. And Saul even asked his son to kill David, but he declined. He tried to convince his father of David's innocence. Although Jonathan was initially next in line for the throne, he failed to have any concern about David's purported ambitions. The king claimed David wouldn't be killed when he spoke to his son. So then another war broke out with the Philistines, and David once again was Israel's hero by defeating them. Next, Saul sent messengers to David's house to slay him. So Saul's daughter and the wife of David, Michal, helped him escape through a window. But to pull this ruse off, she placed an image in his bed so that it would appear that he was in bed sleeping, or he was sick at the time as well. Saul's intentions were so serious about killing his son-in-law that he had soldiers to stand watch near their door in order to assure his death first thing the next morning. Saul thought his daughter would be a snare to David. However, Saul thought that his daughter would be a snare actually to him or for him. However, he felt deceived to learn that she had actually helped David to escape. Many are the afflictions of the righteous, but the Lord delivereth him out of them all. Psalm 34:19. I pray that you've enjoyed the lesson. We're going to dive into some DOK questions. The first question for the intermediate group: can you explain how David distinguished himself in Saul's army? Number 2, how would you describe the relationship of David and Jonathan? Number 3, what was the cause of King Saul's negative attitude towards David? And the primary questions: number 1, what is the name of David's wife? Number 2, what did the king attempt to do to David several times? Here are some links for your enjoyment. The Books of the Bible link, John 3:16, 23rd Psalm, the Lord's Prayer, and there are 2 songs, Match God's Heart and After God's Heart. Thank you for joining the MTCLC, More Than Conquerors Life Center Sunday School. We thank you for joining us. If you are a guest, we thank God for having you today. And we thank the Lord for India, Noel, Faith, Tyler, Erica, Skylar, Taylor, Jalen, Nevaeh, Moya, Timothy, DeMarco. Oh, I have Timothy twice. Grant, Grace, Zanaya, Victoria, CJ, and Leroy. We thank the Lord for you. Take all of the little arrows here with the names in love. We'll correct those for next week. Know that we are praying for you, each one of you and your families. Thank you so much for joining us today. God bless you and have a wonderfully blessed week.